Hey guys, welcome to my video. So today I'm going to be covering everything you need to know or do before you consider to adopt your rabbit, and then what you need to do before you bring them home. No one told me these things all in one video, so I thought it'd be pretty important that I let you know. If you watch one video, it should be this video. This is going to tell you everything you need to do before you bring your rabbit home. Very important, muy importante. So in this video we're going to cover 6 topics that I'm going to tell you about, and then this is going to be part 1 of 5 maybe. It might change. So the next video is going to be everything you need to have done or things you need to do when your rabbit comes home. So this one is before they come home. The next one is going to be after they have come home. So yeah, okay, let's do it. The first do is do your research before you consider adopting. This is very important because you basically need to be a rabbit amateur or rabbit expert before you go adopt your rabbit. Now, if this is the first time you're adopting your rabbit, you're not gonna be an expert, but you can be very knowledgeable, and that is a very important key in your rabbit's life. You want to Google things like, what is their diet? Can they be litter box trained? Yes. How do I set up a litter box? How do I litter box train them? Do they drink out of water bowls or water bottles? Do they need to go outside? Do they need toys? What kind of treats can I give them? Can they eat treats? What kind of hay should I give my rabbit? How much hay should I give my rabbit? Should I get 1, 2, or 3 rabbits? How should I interact with my rabbit? Should I brush my rabbit? Should I groom my rabbit or clip their nails? Do they need those things? Should I give my rabbit a bath? No. Rabbits clean themselves, so they don't need baths. They're like cats, but rabbit style. Do they need hidey houses? What kind of toys are good for my rabbit? How often does my rabbit need to go to the vet? When should I take them to the vet? How do I know if they're sick? How can I tell if my rabbit isn't eating its hay anymore? How do I know if my rabbit's not drinking enough water? How can I get them to drink more water? How can I get them to eat more hay? So like, these are some questions, some very important questions you need to have answers to before you adopt a rabbit. So the don't for this one is don't wing it. You don't want to go ahead and adopt a rabbit and then just figure it out as you go. You're going to make a lot of mistakes and you're going to end up wasting a lot of money, and your rabbit is probably going to be unhappy. So if you're knowledgeable and you're educated on this topic, then your rabbit is going to, your rabbit's not going to know, but it's going to benefit your rabbit. 2, you need to evaluate your circumstances. So you need to evaluate how much time you spend at home. How much time do I have to dedicate to this rabbit? Am I going to have time to litter box train the rabbit? Am I going to have time every day to fill up its hay and its water and give my rabbit pellets? Am I going to have time to clean up the poops and vacuum and dust every day? Am I going to have time to take my rabbit outside every so often in a secure area where they can run around for a few minutes or however long they choose? Am I going to have a nice place to set up my rabbit's habitat, whether it's free roam or in a very large X pen with free roaming time? Do I have the financial stability to keep up with my rabbit's hay and pellets and be able to provide my rabbit with these nice grooming brushes and decent nail clippers and different kinds of hay in case they reject the Timothy hay? Am I going to be able to get proper food bowls and a mat and a litter box and all these things? So you need to ask yourself if you're going to be able to sacrifice some of the time that you would spend doing other things and move that time towards your rabbit. You want to ask yourself, how much time am I at home? You know, do I work 20 hours a week? Do I work 40 hours a week? I know we're in a pandemic right now, so are you working from home? If you're working from home, that's great. Or if you're working mostly from home, that's really good too. Are you in school? Are you in grade school? Are you in college? Are you off to college? Does your apartment or your house or your landlord allow you to have a rabbit? Do you have the money and the means to go ahead and bunny proof your area before you get your rabbit? Like these are all like things you should think about before you get your rabbit. Ask yourself, who is the rabbit for? Is it for you? Is it for, are you giving this rabbit as a gift? I never recommend giving rabbits as a gift. That's not a good idea. Not a good idea. But let's just say in this scenario, the rabbit's for you. So how old are you? Are you a child? Are you a teenager? Or are you an adult? And then you want to ask yourself, how responsible are you or are they? So say you're a parent and you have a teenager, or you have a kid who's asking for a rabbit. How responsible are they? Do they pick up their room? Do they do the dishes? Do they mop the floors? Do they clean the baseboards? Do they get their homework done on time? If so, even if they do all of these things and they are under 18, I do not recommend getting a rabbit for them unless it's going to be like an emotional support animal and you're their home all the time because of this and that. Then I think that would be a good idea. So rabbits live for around 8 to 12 years, as long as dogs. So you need to ask yourself, how old am I now? And where am I going to be in 10 years? So now I'm 20, in 10 years I'll be 30. So by the time I'm 30, I can make Jonah work. Like I plan to have a rabbit rescue by then. I plan to have a decent sized house that's bunny proofed and all this stuff. Like I plan to get metal furniture and protect the baseboards and make sure they have enough room and have a big backyard and all these things for Jonah. So you need to ask yourself, where are you going to be in 10 years? Are you going to be in a different state? Are you going to be married? Are you going to have kids? Usually if you have a kid, the pet comes in second. So you just want to ask yourself those things. Do you move a lot? Are you planning on going to a school out of state? Are you planning on staying home for 10 years with your parents? Are you planning on getting your own apartment and then going to work? So if you're going to work outside, that might cause some separation between your rabbit can get lonely. So I recommend if you have to go to work for maybe 20 or more hours a week that you get a bonded pair or you bond a pair yourself. I know that's a lot to think about, but no one told me this all in one video. So this video is very important for that reason. I'm being real with you, and I know I would appreciate it if someone was real with me when I was 12 years old getting my first rabbit. Someone should have told me, no, that's not a good idea. Because I was uneducated, so that's why I make videos like this. The don't for that is, once you evaluate your circumstances, you need to decide if you're going to move forward with adopting a rabbit or not. I would move forward if all of those questions are answered right, or you have a solution to some of those questions. But if a few of those questions aren't the best answer, or you know in your gut that it's not a right time, I would not go forward with getting a rabbit right now. I would maybe wait a few months, see what happens in your life, or maybe even a year or a few years. Also, if you're thinking about getting a rabbit because it's Easter or it's someone's birthday and they've always wanted one and you're giving it as a gift, or somehow they're going to end up being dumped or rehomed later, just go ahead and don't do it. Rabbits are already very stressed out, anxious animals, and going through rehoming is another stressful thing on top of their already stressful lives, even though all they do is freaking lay around all day. Another reason why I would only go forward with getting a rabbit is if you know you can provide a good stable home and stable food and all that stuff for the rest of its life, even if the rabbit lives for 2 years or 12 years or 15 years. You never know, your rabbit might be very healthy. But yeah, so you're gonna have to take a good chunk of your life dedicated towards this rabbit. Number 3 is adopt. So you want to adopt from a rescue, a shelter, a rehabilitation center. Those usually are out of people's houses. Or find a stray on the street. Or you don't want to go out looking for strays. I mean, you could if you were a rehabilitator, but that would mainly be from like coincidence or really rare. Or I know near me I have a bunny boutique, which is kind of like a rabbit rescue. So if you're in the Austin area, there is a bunny boutique in Pflugerville. That's a really good place to go. They have singles and then they have bonded pairs. And then they have a store attached to it. So I would recommend going there. Right now they're closed because of the pandemic, but they do have like curbside on Sundays. That's a good rabbit rescue that I can give you. So it's very important to adopt instead of shop, because when you adopt, you are going into a place that is trying to rehabilitate or care for rabbits that have either been given up or dumped or somehow ended up in their care, and that are trying to like rejuvenate them and then put them back up for adoption. Usually adoption places, they don't just have baby bunnies, they have all ages of rabbits. It just depends on what came in. It's important to adopt your rabbit from there because you're not supporting pet stores. So the don't would be don't shop. Or even if it doesn't look like a pet store, do your research on the place, because if they carry rabbits, they might be a pet store. So you want to do your research on the place, talk to the owner or talk to some of the employees that work there, and really figure out if this place is like a rescue or is this place a pet store. Usually they're a pet store if they have birds and mice and dogs and cats and rabbits and hamsters and guinea pigs and gerbils and chinchillas and parakeets and lizards and chameleons and bearded dragons. Like, they have all these animals and they're all very young. That's a sign that they're working with their breeder. It's gonna get graphic, but it's important that you see this.
Hey you guys, it's Kat here, Future Kat here. It's in the 2 a.m. I just thought I would go ahead and pop in and explain what a breeder is really quick. So a breeder is a person who picks specific breeds that they want to breed. So let's say they want to breed a Netherland Dwarf, or they want to breed a Holland Lop, right? They'll pick a specific breed and they will try to replicate them, okay? And sometimes these breeders run mills. Let me explain to you what a mill is really quick. So a mill, according to the Humane Society of the United States, defines mills as a breeding operation that puts profit above the animal's well-being. Mills, facilities where animals are forced to breed their whole lives until they are physically incapable. Usually they're in horrible conditions, and then the animal gets thrown away once they are done doing the do, because they're basically useless and they throw them away. But there are some breeders who are doing it right. You know, they give them the right nutrients and they make sure that they have a healthy life, and they're doing all the good things to be a good breeder. You know, they're giving them blankets and food bowls and all that good stuff. But I still don't like to go to breeders because I'm doing my part on trying to decrease the overpopulation of rabbits. So the mills are mainly used for puppies, so you'd hear the term puppy mill, but their mills are also used for other animals too. So keep in mind, if you are getting it from a breeder who knows what they're doing or a mill, avoid mills at all costs, okay?
I don't like going to pet stores that sell animals because they're associated with breeders, right? So I don't like buying even a bag of pellets from a pet store, because I know that some of that money is going towards harming animals, and that's not cool with me. That's why I like going to a rescue. Sometimes your rescues have what you need. I know the Bunny Boutique has hay and pellets, and they have toys and all that stuff, and I like giving my money to them because I know that my money is going to benefit the rabbits. Or you can support a pet store that only sells supplies. I know there's one called like Tomlinson's or something in Austin, and that one's a good one because they don't sell animals, they only sell pet supplies. So just do your research on where you're going to adopt your rabbit from, where you're going to get their supplies from, and then where your money is going to once you buy that stuff. That's very important, or else you're just going to support the breeder industry. And rabbits are already the third most dumped animal in the US. So every time you buy a rabbit from a pet store, you're just giving into the overpopulation. It's also important to adopt from a rescue or something like that, so it can decrease the population little by little. 4, once you've decided to go forward with adopting a rabbit from a safe rescue, you want to bring a carrier with you when you go pick them up. You can do a soft carrier or a hard carrier. It's up to you on what you have. Right now, during the pandemic and this virus, probably going to be here for another 2 years, so I recommend getting a hard carrier so you can wipe it down with like bleach water and then let it air out. I would line it with a towel and then a pea pad on top, and then depending on how old they are, I would either do alfalfa hay or Timothy hay. Obviously, Timothy hay is for adults and alfalfa hay is for young rabbits. I forget the age on young rabbits, but that's something you can look up. A rabbit might not eat while they're in the car. They might not be comfortable enough to do that, but it's important for their stomach to keep moving. It's okay to put the hay in there so they have the option to eat if they choose to. If you don't bring a carrier to the rescue, they might put your rabbit in a box and give them to you like that. So I know accidentally both times I got my rabbits from a pet store, and that's what they did. And that can be pretty scary for your rabbit because they're in a box, there's nothing to grip onto, it's not soft, they're slipping around, they don't know where they are, the car is moving. Like, we have seat belts when we're in the car, we're used to being in the car, so we know how to balance ourselves without thinking about it. Your rabbit is going to be slipping around in the box, so that's why it's important to have a carrier that's sturdy and soft with a pea pad and hay in it. Before you go pick up your rabbit, you want to have their proper house set up. You want to either have a free roaming area or a large X pen, depending on what you decide to do. If I was just starting out as a rabbit parent, honestly, I would do a large X pen because they're probably not potty trained, and that's going to be the easiest to clean up until they are potty trained. When they are potty trained, I would go ahead and expand it to free roaming. I'll do a video on how to set up your rabbit's enclosure when you first bring them home, but basically I'll give you the rundown really quick. If you have hardwood floors, I would do the puzzle mats first, and then the plastic mats so they have some kind of bounciness so their feet don't get sore. And then I would do some blankets on top, some fleece, and then I would have a hidey house, a litter box, a food and water bowl, some toys. I would have hay in their litter box with some litter, some pellets in there, and then probably just a banana, a tiny slice of banana in their bowl, so it's kind of like, hey, welcome home, here's a banana. You know, they might not have never had a banana before, so that would be a good idea.
If you do that, it's important that you only give your rabbit bananas if they are over 12 weeks old.
Oh, I would keep your rabbit in the room they're gonna live in so they can get used to that room, like what sounds are in that room, what does the room smell like, what's your schedule, like when are you going in the room, when are you going out of the room, how loud is the TV gonna be in that room, like things like that. And there's definitely more things you should have in that little enclosure, but those are just some things I can think of off the top of my head. But yeah, like I said, I'll do a video on how to set up your rabbit's enclosure for the first time when you bring them home. You don't want to bring your rabbit home for the first time and have to leave them in their carrier while you figure out how to set up their enclosure, because then your rabbit's more anxious, there's people walking around, there's things moving. It needs to be a smooth transition for your rabbit, so the best way to do that is to have the enclosure set up before in a very calm room. You don't want to have kids screaming or running around in the room looking at the rabbit when you get it. You don't want some loud music playing or the TV on. You want it to be very calm in the room. You want everyone that goes into that room to be very calm. But you don't want your rabbit to feel neglected and scared when someone comes in. So you want them to be in the room they're gonna stay in, but you want them to feel comfortable. So the best way to do that is when you bring your rabbit home, their enclosure, ideally their enclosure would already be set up. You pick up their carrier, that they're in the carrier, you'd pick them up, put them in, and then you would open the little latch and then just leave it open, and so they can come out when they feel safe to. The home or your rabbit's habitat should be a X-pen or a free roaming area. You always want to aim for those two. Those two habitats are acceptable in the rabbit community. And of course, no matter what, if your rabbit is in an X-pen or free roaming, you need to bunny proof that area. And if your rabbit goes into other parts of the house too, eventually, you want to bunny proof those too. If you decide to have an X-pen, your rabbit needs to have at least 4 hours of free roaming time outside of their X-pen. If they're free roaming, you don't need to let them out to run, because they can do that anyway. But if your room is small, like mine, my room is a 10 by 10. My room was a 12 by 13, but now we moved and I'm in a 10 by 10. So I like to let my door open, and I like to let Jonah run down the hallway so he can get some zoomies in, because my room is kind of small, especially with all my furniture in it. But if my room was empty and this was going to be a rabbit room, this room is big enough for Jonah to run around. So you just gotta think about how many things are in that room, if they're going to be free roaming, like if you have a spare room to give them, or if they're going to be living in your room. Rabbits don't belong in a cage, a hutch, or a condo. So I have done 2 out of those 3 things. I have done the cage, and then a bigger cage, and then I did a condo. And all of those were very terrible ideas. Of course, in the moment, I was like, oh, a condo is a great idea. It's such an upgrade. But it's very unnatural, and it's still too small. It's cheaper to bunny-proof your room and let them free roam, rather than to spend $100 on a condo or a cage or $200 on a hutch. And cleaning these little tight areas with all these crevices. You don't know how many times I got scraped by zip ties trying to clean a condo, and I started bleeding, especially since I'm allergic. I started puffing up, and it wasn't fun. It wasn't fun for me. It wasn't fun for Oreo. He didn't have enough room. So that's why it's important to do your research and know what you're doing so you can do it right the first time. Because if you do it right the first time, you're saving money, you're saving stress, and your rabbit is gonna have a happier life, and it's gonna be easier for them to adjust to it. Yeah, so you want to have a X-pen or a free roaming, because it is cheaper and it is cleaner and easier to clean. You don't want a cage, a hutch, or a condo. They cost more money, they're inefficient, they're too small, and it's more to clean, and it's very dirty, and it's just so much more work. This was the everything you need to know or do before you adopt your rabbit. The next part is going to be everything you need to do when you bring your rabbit home. So here we talked about 6 things of what you need to do before you bring your rabbit home. In the next video, I'm going to talk about 5 things you need to do when your rabbit gets to your house. These videos might be a little bit long and lengthy, but they're definitely informative and important to listen to. So yeah, I guess I'll see y'all later. Peace. I did my makeup for this video. Isn't it cool? Like, look, bad booty. Oh.